before you. Choose wisely. In the past, targets have been synonymous with submission and subjugation. We're going to explore 3 different men on this show. And in this show, we're going to ask ourselves the questions: have the recent expulsion of American black men been synonymous to what I call targets? Recently, Dave Chappelle was in the news, and he appears to be targeted by the alphabet community for some comments that he made concerning their preoccupations. But many black men feel that when it comes down to black life, like Ice Cube, and you think about John Amos, he was a target back in the 70s when he stood up to some of the socialites in his group as they wanted him to tone down his masculinity and his dominance. When you see these types of occurrences happening in the media, what does it do to the psyche of a man? Does it call men to revert from within and say that America, or in general, the Western world, is not a place where a man can actually exude true masculinity? Was Dave Chappelle targeted? Was Ice Cube targeted when he spoke up back in the pre-elections? And also was John Amos targeted when he more or less defied the socialites or the socialite Norman Lear? I want you to explore in these shows these 3 archetypes of masculinity, whether it be in the media or whether it be in everyday life. And I want you to ask yourself the question: do men that are masculine, especially black men, get targeted in this current milieu called America? We know that it appears to be an attack on masculinity, not just black masculinity, but all masculinity. And because of those attacks, it appears that men are actually suffering in silence. We're going to explore once again the dynamics of John Amos, Dave Chappelle, and also Ice Cube. And from each examination, we're going to ask ourselves the question: how can black men defend themselves, stand up for what they believed in, and still be relevant in this current culture when anytime a man says anything contrary to the norm, he's deemed to be more or less excoriated by all types of names? Sit back, relax, and enjoy this show as I bring it to you live from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State. And I want you to remember this: if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. There are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male. Male mental health is paramount to the efficacy of a man. Be well.
keep God first. I see evil, when I converse.
Not today, say.
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns.
Go.
Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off. You living boring, I'm gonna set it off. Shooting, I'm scoring, I'm gonna set it off. Like soldiers torn, I'm gonna set it off. Son of God, no, I am not son of man. Blessings keep falling, the fingers keep coming in. I got you, but you know I'm texting like Uncle Sam. Left to the bank, you know that I'm coming in. We don't do it for the bands though, we don't do it for the clout. Legacy on the line, so I'm moving in and out. Seen good ones turn top dog, greedy ones get knocked off. I keep looking at the bench like I could never not ball. Coach keep me in the game, Curry deadly with the range. I keep looking in the mirror like, who is he? I'm insane. Who am I? He insane. Guess I am the one to blame. What's done is done, won't change. Time to live up to my name. Real will be real, fake gon' fall. Took time with this here, I'm made for a while. No sleeping, no, I won't fall. No sleeping, no, I want it all. I keep God first. I see evil, when I converse.
Not today, say.
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns.
Go.
Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off. You living boring, I'm gonna set it off. Shooting, I'm scoring, I'm gonna set it off. Like soldiers torn, I'm gonna set it off. Told my baby, meet me at the bank. Told my mama, I'ma break the trend. Locked in, I'ma change the weight. Working for my baby's kids. Hard times couldn't make the rent. Working hard, couldn't save a cent. Lonely nights, just me and God. Swear to him, always made the ends. Grab a paper, see the news. Hate coming by the tools. Walk a mile in my shoes, something you could never do. Got my back against the wall, bet I always pull through. Who are you, who are you? Who are you, who are you? Sending shots, I block 'em. Superman with the moves, rock 'em, sock 'em, drop, pop 'em. Play to win, never lose. Run it up, I top 'em. Play full belly too. I hip hop or pop 'em. Anything I could do. The real won't be real, fake gon' fall. Took time with this here, I'm made for a while. No sleeping, no, I won't fall. No sleeping, no, I want it all. I keep God first. I see evil, when I converse.
Not today, say.
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns.
Go.
Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off. You living boring, I'm gonna set it off. Shooting, I'm scoring, I'm gonna set it off. Like soldiers torn, I'm gonna set it off.
to be my lover, yeah. I love it when she want to be my lover, yeah. My little baby gon' rise on me. My little baby gon' ride on me. Maria, Maria, Maria. Every time you're looking out for me. Every time you're looking out for me. Love you, yeah, love.
Everything go from Maria, yeah, yeah. Sensibility, yeah, yeah. Pretty girl like a Maria, Maria, yeah, yeah. Every time we meet up, every time be like, oh, Maria, Maria.
Every time you look up for me, come on, look up for me. Every time you look up for me, come on, look up for me. Every time you look up for me, come on, look up for me. Every time you look up for me.
She no island girl, she from Kilimanjaro, Kiliman, nah, she no island girl, she from Kilimanjaro, Kilimanjaro.
My little baby gon' rise on me. My little baby gon' ride on me. Maria, Maria, Maria. Every time you're looking out for me. Every time you're looking out for me. Love you, yeah, love.
Everything go from Maria, yeah. Sensibility, yeah, yeah. Pretty girl like a Maria, Maria, yeah, yeah. Every time we meet up, every time be like, oh, Maria, Maria. Now you want to spend more time with me. Do you want to be my wife, baby? I just want you in my life, baby. I like you, I like you, everything go from Maria.
We're about to start the show in a minute. What we're going to be talking about is black masculinity under attack. Stay tuned. Bringing it to you live once again from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State, where the topography is serene, pristine, and verdant green, where every day is Father's Day, and where manhood is part of hills and valleys, victories and failures, and whereas men, we don't agree on all things or ideologies, but tonight we come together as allies of a common cause only to dissipate once the crisis is over. Now listen, I'm about to drop some fire for your mind. But before I drop that fire, let's explore why we are doing the Manhood Chronicles. All right. Listen, guys, this show is going to be a power-packed show on today. We're going to be talking about Dave Chappelle. We're going to be talking about John Amos of Good Times from the past. And also we're going to be talking about Ice Cube. In this discussion, we're going to ask ourselves the question, is black male masculinity under attack? Was the alphabet community complicit or wrong in the excoriation of Dave Chappelle? was Ice Cube attacked, unfortunately, by some of our black women. And it's John Amos, an archetypal black man, that was more or less targeted or attacked as well. You know and I know that black men have been attacked since pre-antebellum slavery, and it could be argued post-antebellum slavery as well. And all of these incessant attacks appears to be having a mental impact on how black men actually function. I myself, being a black man, but also a black man clinician in the past, have been targeted. Being 6'5", highly educated, a lot of times, black men that stand on their convictions and that are very masculine, many times are attacked. We're going to look at 3 scenarios. Once again, in entertainment, the Dave Chappelle controversy, Ice Cube, and John Amos. And I'm going to have an open and a live panel where men are more or less giving their input to how these situations played a role on their mental health, and did it more or less bring back some of the times when they felt targeted or attacked on their jobs, in the community, but also by their women. Now listen, I want you guys to, if you have not shared the show, please share this content. I need you guys to do me a favor. Hit all the like buttons, right? Hit all notifications. The notifications are the star or the bell. So once you hit the notifications, I want everybody to give me a 1. Once you hit the notifications, I want everyone to put up the number 1. Hit all notifications right now. We're about to start. I love you guys. And let's hit the 1 button because we need to get this content out. Male mental health is paramount to the functioning of societies. And when men are not getting their mental health needs met, they often suffer in silence or become victims of their own peril. So once you guys hit the 1, we're going to start this show because we want to get this show out, and we're going to have an open panel on today. And to the men that were impacted by this Dave Chappelle fiasco, we're going to have a conversation because many men saw the malfeasance that was impacted on Dave Chappelle as being a target. And similar men like James Evans from Good Times in the past. So listen, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to play these clips, and I want you guys to take notes. And I want you guys to ask yourself the questions, was this right or was it wrong? Hold tight.
Told you can write that up if you want
it's
to.
we're not out here jumping on calls.
We all black, so we all together.
We're not meeting up with Jared Kushner and Donald Trump about this. You are. So you can't say, well, if you don't like it, add to it. You're out here. You took that job. You took that position to
I'll
lead this.
write it up.
So like,
I'll write up the black woman's part of the contract for you.
Yeah,
how many words do y'all want it to be? The thing is, you guys are the experts, but here we go again. You just want to talk. Nobody want to help me. Just want to talk. But y'all the experts on black women, so why won't y'all help me? See, that's the problem.
After days of being bashed for working with President Trump, rapper and actor Ice Cube says that he is setting the record straight. In a new interview, Cube says he never met with Trump and doesn't endorse either presidential candidate. Eyewitness News reporter Amy Powell shows us more.
I'm not playing no more of these games, these political games. We're not part of a team.
Rapper Ice Cube speaking out during an interview on CNN, reacting to harsh criticism about his decision to work with President Trump. The backlash starting when Trump advisor Katrina Pearson posted a tweet expressing her appreciation for Ice Cube's willingness to help the administration develop what is being called the Platinum Plan for black communities. Critics questioning the rap star's motives, noting that in 2018 he released a track with lyrics calling for the arrest of Donald Trump. Ice Cube says he is not endorsing Trump and is open to working with Joe Biden's campaign.
Both campaigns contacted me. Both campaigns wanted to talk to me about the contract with Black America. One campaign said, we love what you have, but let's really dig into it after the election. And one campaign said, we love what you have. Do you mind talking to us about it? and that's what I did.
Ice Cube says he has come up with his own plan for racial justice called The Contract with Black America.
I'm not going there talking about minorities. I'm not going there talking about people of color or diversity or none of that stuff. I'm going there for Black Americans, the ones who are the descendants of slaves.
The rapper also fighting back on social media, saying he is bipartisan.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our YouTube channel. And download the ABC7 Los Angeles streaming app on Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, and Roku to watch on your TV.
So this was just one of the examples. This was concerning Ice Cube. I want you guys to be the clinicians on today. I want you guys to take notes. What was wrong with this expose? Why does it appear that every time black men take a stand as it relates to power and masculinity, they always have to more or less prove themselves? They always have to justify their intentions, and any or everything that they say is always held under scrutiny. Why is that? And to men that are in relationships or in your families or more or less in the communities, what's been the mental health impact when you stand on your masculinity as a man? Regardless if you agree with Ice Cube or not, regardless if you agree with his position, it appears to me that Ice Cube was attacked for more or less executing his judicial rights as a man to speak on the social malfeasance, unfortunately, of sometimes politicians. But also, it appears that there was backlash by our women as it relates to Ice Cube. Now, we're going to listen to the point of reference as it relates to John Amos, because I want you guys to take notes, and I want you guys to ask yourself the questions, what's wrong with these scenarios? So hold tight. We're going to get John Amos, and he's going to tell why he was discharged from Good Times. Hold tight.
The differences we had on that show, and we had a number of differences, as evidenced by my early departure from the show, was I felt that with two other younger children, one of whom who aspired to become a Supreme Court justice, that would be Ralph Carter or Michael, and the other, Bernadette Stannis, I think, she aspired to become a surgeon. And the differences I had with the producers of the show was that I felt too much emphasis was being put on JJ and his chicken hat and saying dynamite every third page, when just as much emphasis and mileage could have been gotten out of my other two children and the concomitant jokes and humor that could have come out of that. But I wasn't the most diplomatic guy, like I said, in those days, and they got tired of having their lives threatened over jokes. So they said, to tell you what, why don't we kill him off and we'll all get on with our lives. Life's too short. So that taught me a lesson that I wasn't as important as I thought I was to the show or to Norman Lear's plans. And he was not about to have a disruptive factor. That was me, a disruptive factor. I got the call, we were on hiatus, when I found that I was no longer to be a part of the show. And Norman's secretary at that time, a very nice young lady by the name of J.D. Joe, called and said, John, Norman would like to speak to you. And I thought that was kind of unusual as we were on hiatus. And so Norman got on the phone. He said, Big John. I said, yes, Norman. He said, I've got some good news and some bad news. What do you want first? I said, hey, it's your dime. You made the call. He said, well, the good news is we've been picked up for another season, which was a foregone conclusion because we'd never been out of it. Once we broke into the top 10, we never were out of it. And we stayed in the top 5 for quite a few weeks, if I remember correctly. One way or the other, I couldn't understand why he was calling me to tell me that we were renewed. And then he said, you want the bad news? I said, sure, how bad can it be? He said, you won't be with us. And I said, nothing. I didn't say a word. I let that register for a minute. He said, you still there? I said, yeah, I'm here, Norman. Well, don't you want to say something? He said, what can I say? It's your show. Have a good life. Click. And that was it. I was going to be, recalcitrant to the end. You won't get me to roll over and cry for the job. No, forget you, man. But I didn't curse or anything. I just hung up the phone. And he didn't call me back to see if I had anything else to say. I never heard from him again for months and months and months.
All right, so this was the second example with John Amos. This was the second example with John Amos. Listen, I call this cyber buck breaking. Cyber buck breaking is a term that I created recently because it more or less talks about how black men or men in general are excoriated in the media anytime they stand on masculine principles. And so when men can't be men or facilitate masculinity, they often suffer inward and can implode or explode. And I want you guys, as you're listening to this expose by John Amos, to ask yourself the question, was John Amos targeted Ted? Was John Amos a target by Norman Lear? And the last one that we're going to look at is Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle was targeted by the alphabet community for speaking his mind as it relates to ADOS people. Listen, it appears that anytime a target is a black man, it's minimized. But when a target is someone from the alphabet community or anywhere else, they tend to be more or less exonerated. And some people of color have great consternation over the fact that other factions use our struggle as a means to exonerate themselves. So we're going to use this show and this last clip to talk about Dave Chappelle. Was Dave Chappelle a target? Was Dave Chappelle right in his pronouncements? Do you feel that many times there's a such thing called fake outrage when black men speak their truth or their piece or speak the truth? I don't believe in their truth or his truth, but when he speaks the piece or his piece or the truth. Look at this expose real quick. It was on the news by Dave Chappelle. And ask yourself the question, was Dave Chappelle right? Or was Dave Chappelle wrong? Or is there hypocrisy by the alphabet community as it relates to Dave Chappelle and issues regarding black people? So hold tight. We're going to look at this one. Hold tight. We're going to look at this one. Hold tight. Give me 1 minute. Screen. All right, we're about to get it, guys. Hold tight. Thanks for being patient. And so let's talk about this because it appears to be very hypocritical.
GMA cover story this morning. Dave Chappelle is under fire after his latest.
Dave Chappelle on stage in Detroit for his stand-up special, The Closer, sparking
GMA cover. Story this morning. Dave Chappelle is under fire after his latest stand-up special dropped on Tuesday. There's mounting backlash over claims of harmful transphobic and homophobic remarks, and LGBTQ groups are swift to respond, putting Netflix even under the microscope too. Our Chris Connolly has the story.
Gay people get mad at me, lesbians get mad at me, but I'm gonna tell you right now, and this is true, these transgenders, these want me dead.
That's Dave Chappelle on stage in Detroit for his stand-up special, The Closer, sparking debate and outrage ever since the show debuted on Netflix Tuesday, with his controversial comments about the trans community.
We canceled J.K. Rowling, my God. But effectually, she said gender was a fact. And then the trans community got mad as they started calling her a TERF.
TERF stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist.
I'm Team Turf.
On social media, reaction to Chappelle's comments throughout the special has been swift and intense, in deeds as well as words. Netflix, I'm done, declared Jacqueline Moore, former showrunner of the acclaimed series Dear White People, who told of her own transition during Pride Week on Netflix. I will not work with them as long as they continue to put out and profit from blatantly and dangerously transphobic content. GLAAD issuing a statement saying in part, Dave Chappelle's brand has become synonymous with ridiculing trans people and other marginalized communities. And from National Black Justice Coalition President David J. Johns, with 2021 on track to be the deadliest year on record for transgender people in the United States, the majority of whom are black transgender people, Netflix should know better. Netflix should immediately pull The Closer from its platform.
Any of you who have ever watched me know that I have never had a problem with transgender people. If you listen to what I'm saying, clearly, my problem has always been with white people.
There's been no comment as yet from Netflix. Chappelle has long rejected the charge that he is transphobic. His fans have hailed what they consider his comic fearlessness, especially in dealing with racism in American life. In The Closer, Chappelle saying this to the LGBTQ community.
I am not telling another joke about you until we are both sure that we are laughing together.
For Good Morning America, Chris Connolly, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA.
Why can't we get respect? And I agree with Tim. Why are black male issues marginalized? Why is it that when anytime black men stand firm on their convictions, they're silenced if it does not go more or less adhere to the status quo? Have you been a victim of being targeted as a black man? Have your masculinity been targeted in the home? Have your masculinity been targeted on your job? Have your masculinity been targeted in the schools? Was James Evans a target? Was Dave Chappelle a target? And once again, was Ice Cube a target in the 2020 political debates to get black people, or more or less to advocate for black people? So I want you guys to ask you all the question, because, you know, forgive me for this technology. I'm still learning. I got a brand new mixing board, and I'm still finagling this technology. So Tim has dropped the link. Tim dropped the link. I think I dropped it. And let's have a discussion. As a black man in America, have you been targeted? And if you have been targeted, what has it done to your psyche? I spoke earlier about how I was targeted as a black man, have been targeted many times, because it appears that when black men speak up, or when black men tell their story, if it does not adhere to the status quo, it's often marginalized. So here's the link. Let's have a discussion. Thank you, Tim, once again. You got it, brother. Thanks, Tim. And if you have not donated, donate to Cash App $7Smalls. Please donate to Cash App $7Smalls. We're going to be continuing to deliver quality content. And even though I'm a licensed therapist and I'm a busy man, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to produce these shows, because my caseloads are going to be increasing soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue to deliver quality content, because I believe in the empowerment of all men, but also black men, so they can be strong leaders in their homes, so they can love their women, so that they can protect their children, and so we can have stronger communities. So let's ask the question. The link is dropped. And until someone more or less speak out, I'm going to tell you once again the things that I've been through as a black man, as I've been targeted in the past. I've lost several jobs for speaking out. I've lost jobs because I took a stand on what was right as it relates to protecting young black boys. I was a teacher in the past. I worked in law enforcement. And also I worked with the Department of Justice as it relates with the state in the past. And I became a target because sometimes there are factions in America that don't like it when educated black men speak out. They don't like it when black men stand firm on their convictions. They're not used to black men that project power. Because when black men project power, it reduces or causes a schema affliction for those that target black men. And see, here's my point of consternation that I have, guys. Why is it that people always use black men or black people as a convenient come-up? We tend to give these liberal groups the power to use us as a convenient come-up. And then we're going to ask ourselves the question, what has that convenient come-up done to the psyche of our people, but also the psyche of our communities? I'm a firm believer that men and women can't be solvent until we work together as a team. And it's important that we work together as a team if we're going to get the outcomes that we need. So I got my man, the Ingram Experience. He's about to pop on in a minute. Give me a minute, brother. Hold tight, Ingram. Give me 1 minute, brother. Thank you for supporting the content. Give me 1 minute. And I'm going to read through some of these comments because these comments are very important to the discussion. My man Donald Reimer said, but we can have stronger, normally rosary disappointing. He should have known better. John Amos was the show for me. I quit watching it once it took him off. I'll walk Charles because, okay, I don't, yeah. All right, so let me turn this microphone down a little bit. Thank you, Sim C. I got this new equipment. I don't know how to act. Let me turn it down, son. All right, so Donald said, I was a teacher in the past. Seems like the media doesn't like strong black men and strong fathers because they kill us off. And I agree, Don. I agree 100%. My man Drago's Flame said they want us to stay silent and go along. I agree with you 180%. And my man Tim said it's a threat to him. True. And then back to Don. Don said that all Chappelle said was that everybody benefits from the civil rights movement except for us. White women benefited that when they came along with women's lives and women live and last on the civil rights, and we got pushed in the background, and now the LGBTQ is doing the same thing. So the Ingram Report, how you doing, brother?
Hey, brother, look, great to meet you, man. And like I said, I enjoy your content. I respect your content.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
And I tell you, it's very few voices out here speaking for men and boys in general, but especially for black men.
Right.
And in terms of, especially in terms of the family, especially in terms of not being on code and saying what needs to be done and what needs to be achieved in our communities.
Mm-hmm. Right. I totally agree. When you think about the three archetypes, the Ingram Experience that we talked about here most recently, what's your take on the excoriation of the past of John Amos, the recent indictment towards Dave Chappelle, but also in the past, the attack by some of our women, not all, shout out to the good sisters, but the attack by some of the women on Ice Cube as he was being bipartisan as it relates to coming up with policies that are going to benefit the black community. What's your take on all of that, the Ingram Experience?
Well, my thing is when you look at a lot of things that's going on in the community now, a lot of the dysfunction that you see and has to do a lot with how we've been socially programmed. We've been socially programmed for our own destruction. And we start with the family and the destabilization of the family, not having the patriarch in place, not having that male leadership. But when I look at what's happening is with our community, if you don't stay on code, see, it's all about staying on code as opposed to achieving results or accomplishing goals. And there's so many people outside of our community that wants to influence our voices and tell us what's good for us. And unfortunately, they've affected our women to the point where they're not being led by us anymore. They're being led by some other people's agenda, the feminist agenda, or things that are not good for us. So we have a lot of separations in terms of our ideology, and more importantly, men are not really calling the shots of what needs to be done with the community. You lost sound again.
No, I keep,
there you go.
I keep muting myself.
Okay.
I don't want to get any feedback, and I apologize, guys. Please forgive me. I'm getting used to this equipment. This equipment is very expensive, and when you're trying to do 100 things at one time, it can get a little confusing. But thank you guys for listening. But I don't know how old you are. I don't know if you're a millennial, a Gen X, or a baby boomer.
47.
47. So you're not Gen X. I'm actually older than you. You the puppy. I'm the old man. But when you think about this great transition, the Ingram experience that you've seen, do you remember a time when black male masculinity was actually respected and revered? And if you do remember it, what happened in your best estimation to the dissolvement of black male masculinity?
I think it started, well, we have so many different causations, but I think critically, I think what happened is we started a lot of things. I mean, we can go back to the 60s and the 70s for different explanations about what exactly happened to the family. And obviously, we can make that argument. There's a lot of different theories about it. I mean, there's a part where the government replaced men in the house, where men were replaced with government subsidies. There's issues with the community and crime, and there's so many different causations. But I think the most critical, I think, is the government involvement and feminist ideology indoctrinating a lot of our women that they don't need a man. We kind of absorbed that a little bit when we were a community that couldn't afford to have that type of indoctrination, because there was issues that we were dealing with in terms of racism, in terms of issues with the police, and so many different things going on in our community that we really didn't need the feminist movement coming in and destabilizing our homes as well.
Right. I think that definitely plays a role. And I would say even more so now, there have been many stabilizing forces that have impacted us as a people, especially black men. And listen, I believe the Ingram experience that our women were compromised. I think they were compromised by liberal groups to more or less destroy the foundation that the black community had built. And because of that destruction of that foundation, I think we're seeing now the recompense of our era, or those women are seeing the recompense of their era. Because I believe the Ingram experience that you and I experienced the glories of both parts. You and I came from a dichotomous background. We experienced some of the baby boomers and, Dr. King, and, Gen X is a special generation to me because we experienced the good and the bad. We knew what roots was. We knew what the civil rights movement was. But at the same time, we were given more and more modern and uptake. But it appears now that the communities have gotten worse and worse and worse, to the point now, the Ingram experience, that is beyond repair. Do you see the communities getting back to where it was in the past, or do you feel like it's going to continue on that precipitous decline? What's your take on that?
I think it's going to be forced, and here's why. I think COVID. I always look at two factors: COVID and January 6th. Okay, I know a lot of things happened. We had this ideology in our community about the importance of masculinity, the importance of male leadership, and the importance of developing men and boys. But when people saw, like, we were just at the precipice of this country turning into a revolution on January 6th. And what a lot of people realize is why you need men, why you need strong communities, because when the barbarian comes at your door, your job's not going to save you.
Right.
Your you know what I'm saying? Your education is not going to save you.
Right.
That dollar bill that you thought you had that's worth something, now it's not worth nothing food's worth something, water's worth something,
right?
Masculine protection is worth something. So I think that gives some people a wake-up call. But not only that, I think ultimately we've seen the results of a lot of socialization in terms of our women and understanding that if you don't have a strong family and a unit, there's a lot of things that's going to leave you out to pasture in terms of generational wealth, being alone as you get older, not building strong community and families, the development of young people. There's all kinds of disadvantages to any destruction of the family. So I think inevitably, women realize that some women, because here's the problem too, because there's still people that are stubborn, because remember, they're being fed by Hollywood every day. They're getting the TV, they're getting the social media. Because I had this discussion with some people about social media. Like me and you can have a conversation with people, but they can still have the delusional world of social media and other people that are afraid to hold them accountable in our community. Because like I said, everybody has to stay on code.
Right. That staying on code appears to diminish masculinity. And, I remember a time, the Ingram experience, when men actually stood on their convictions. The things that we allow now, it was never allowed when we were in high school or in the early 90s. Do you feel like black men have been hoodwinked into being silenced by liberal socialites, in your opinion?
I think it's the liberals socializing is Hollywood, but also, too, the absence of fathers in the household. You don't have strong men in the household. I'm not talking about these weak beta males or these guys that have been, they're so, they've lost their masculinity because of the culture. They're fed into the culture where they think that they have to subjugate themselves to women, maybe because they have a job or because they're making a certain amount of income. That doesn't negate your responsibilities to be a man. And I think what happens is when you have so many young men not being raised with men around, you tend that emotional stability and masculinity is not being passed on. We have too many emotional boys out here, and they're thinking, behaving, and acting in emotional ways. Because obviously, I have a background in law enforcement, and I've had to deal with it to the point where, like, you have a young man that's out of control, and obviously, what happens. So the other side may interpret that movement and that emotionality as a form of aggression. And if we don't need much to get shot. You know how that deal is. So I can see it with the emotionalities in our young men. I can see it with the bad decisions that they make and the lack of self-interest in their decisions making process. And I think that we've had maybe a couple generations with this single mother thing. And I think that's a detriment.
It's a total detriment. But before we continue this program, I want to send a special shout out and a thanks to my man, James Pittman, for that $25 super chat. Thank you, James Pittman. I love you, brother. Thank you for your support, because these shows are very time consuming. And when you guys contribute to these shows, it gives me the power and the encouragement to push forward. I'm going to push forward anyway because I love what I do. But when you guys donate to the channel, when you guys share the content, it gives me the power and the encouragement to push forward. Shout out to my man, Von Bryan. Von Bryan said, I watched Dave Chappelle's special, and for the life of me, I couldn't find anything that he said that was derogatory towards the alphabet community. He has a right to his opinion, and I agree with that, Von Bryan. So you get an applause for that, because I agree with you 100%. He has a right to his opinion, and he has a right to say what he believes in, because that's his constitutional right. Shout out to my dear and lovely and my sweet Sagittarian, Miss Parker, back to the basics. I believe that our black men are expendable because we have been ripped from our history. We don't have backing like many other cultures, and I agree with that. And so I agree with her 100%. We don't have the backing from our culture. And it appears that our women have been conditioned, because they've been conditioned to think that the black man was the enemy. A lot of our women have suffered from vicarious trauma from their mothers when they say, I'm strong and independent and I don't need a man. I think one of the greatest thinking errors the Ingram experience is this: when a woman says, I'm strong and independent and I don't need a man, versus saying, I'm going to be soft and self-sufficient, until I get a man so that I can become interdependent. So we got another guest. My man, I don't know what his name is. I'm gonna let you speak.
Gerald. My name is Gerald, but I just call myself G-Man.
Oh, G-Man. What's up, G-Man? Give me 1 minute, G-Man. I'm gonna let you speak. Sim Sayer said 100 years ago, there was a boom in the community. The Great Depression, urban renewal, and many other actions have dug away many of the community accomplishments. And you're correct, Sim Sayer. It has dug away many of the community accomplishments, and I don't see it going back until we get back to the basics, like Ms. Parker said, back to the basics. Go check her out. And check out my man, The Ingram Experience. He's starting his channel. Guys, please go support him. And so back to the basics, you're correct. We got to get back to the basics if we're going to have the evolution or revival of the black community. But I think it's going to take several generations. I don't see it in my lifetime. But G-Man, what's your take on this conversation that we're having? And what would you like to add to have black masculinity been under attack? And where is the epigenesis to this attack on black male masculinity, in your opinion, brother?
Okay, well, I had to come in because I heard the brother was speaking about your age. So I'm a little bit older, so I guess you would call me a baby boomer. But I saw masculinity. It was strong. I also saw a little bit of how the money transferred in our neighborhood from people who own the burger joints to we were self-sufficient. So once you come with welfare, and if you reverse the word welfare, it means farewell. And that's what it was. And I'm sorry, but that woman of tone, the color, the Negro, the African-American, now the black woman, they bit the hook and they took the bait. And all they did was cause a dysfunction. The dysfunction worked. It's called silent weapon quiet wars. So we haven't realized that we're still in this war. It's just this war is invisible. Now, as far as our voice, I'm sorry, but Cube doesn't speak for me. We actually should have went underground and spoke for ourselves and had our own blueprint and our own plan. We don't need to ask the government for a damn thing, especially when us as a culture consumes damn near $1 trillion. And by the way, the brother was right. That Federal Reserve note is trash. I mean, straight trash. So all they did was play chess on us while we played checkers. And that's what happened. If you go back and read Willie Lynch, you don't just read it, you read into it. And you can see the blueprint of destruction. Once they took the protection away from the home, then the system could attack the children.
Absolutely.
That's what the system was about. And you brothers were ex-cops. Y'all seen them young brothers go to jail. And most of those young brothers was raised by who? Single mothers who made that choice. They didn't have to make that choice. What they gave them was a delusion of something called power.
Yes.
When they had power already, because this female does not understand, and this goes for the Western culture women, period, because now I look at this as a broader picture because it has nothing to do with color. The only color is power, control, and money. The women are supposed to sit behind the men, because I had to tell women in Georgia the reason why is because you are the nucleus of the household. You're the nucleus of even life. Everything runs through you. You're the general manager. The playbook runs through you. We're supposed to negotiate with you. You're the one that plays the bill. You're the one that makes sure the kids get off right. But they gave them this sense of, I am woman, hear me roar.
Right, right.
What the hell you roaring for when the kingdom is yours anyway? But they bit that poison. Marcus Garvey said it. If you drink this white man poison, you will fail. Guess what? The Western culture has drunken that poison. And now these people, that small elite people that are in control, they could care less about transgender. They could care less about anybody's gender. When a child is born, they get paid. When a person passes away, they get paid. Because your birth certificate is a bond. It is a security. You are still a slave. They just changed the game. That's all they did. And to you brothers, again, I'm older. I don't think it will never get back, simply because men are standing up. That seems to be a problem. Masculinity is a problem, but the NWO, even in their book, they were pushing this transgender homosexual thing. This was their plans 20, 30 years ago. And I just can't believe I'm actually living to see it. I mean, it's actually a thing now. And it's like, it shouldn't be, but you know what? I have no right to tell a person what to do, but they have no right to tell me what to do. I'm a man. I enjoy being a man. And I'm gonna respect myself as this is how I came into this world. And I'm gonna respect other brothers. But it seems as that that's where the war started, was between brothers. Our machoism, when basically instead of fighting, we should have unite. And see, that seems to be a problem. That Black Wall Street attitude from Winston-Salem all the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma, Houston, Texas, all the way to California. They scared to teach us our history because they scared of that power. And we're so powerful, brothers, that within 24 hours, we can be back on top. And that is something they are totally afraid of.
You know, what you said, G-Man, is very important. If you guys can hear me, what you said was very important, and you get an applause for that. Because
thank you.
That was very eloquent, and what you said was very important. I agree with you, and I agree with the Ingram experience. I don't see it coming back in our generation. I think it's going to take the evolution of epic proportions to get us back. And I do agree with you about the prognostication, about the illusion of power. You know, I said in the past, G-Man, in the Ingram experience, that a lot of our women, but some of the socialites have a schema affliction. And that schema is the fixation that black men and black masculinity, or male masculinity, white or black, needs to be in this place. And the affliction comes because of the fear of losing power. You know, I've always used the words of Frederick Douglass in my show. Frederick Douglass always said that power never concede to anything without a struggle. It never have, and it never will. And we saw the disillusionment of power with the prior elections that happened recently, because it appears that a large faction of our women, not all, thank God for the good sisters like Miss Parker, back to the basics, Dr. O, and many that stood up for black men and the black family. But it appears that some of our women, the Ingram experience and G-Man was more or less compromised because they were more concerned about their belly instead of being concerned about the black community. What's your take on that, the Ingram experience? And then G-Man, I want you to piggyback. And if anyone else want to come in and add to the conversation, let's do it, because I believe that black male masculinity is under attack. And the excursion of black male masculinity is doing a lot to the mental health of black men. So, Mr. Ingram, give me your pronouncements about what I just said, and I want you to break it down from your point of view.
Well, there's two factors in there. One is the economic factor. With men being in control of the household, women are the biggest consumers in the world. And if men are in control, that spending is not going out into the free market. It doesn't fuel capitalism. So there's a how would I say it? There's the mechanism in there of keeping things the status quo for our community, so we stay on the spending crack. And then the other faction in there is the homosexual agenda that's being pushed on our people. Because even with the Black Lives Matter platform, when you read into the agenda, there is something in there about restructuring the nuclear family, basically expanding the family to women and the homosexual agenda, which has nothing to do with police brutality or black people being killed out here in the streets. So there's agendas that are being mixed in that are overpowering any of our interest. And back to what I was saying about the family, there can't be any progress in life when the family is not fixed. The nuclear family is the beginning, and the end. And all of our protections, our education, everything that has to develop a human being starts with a family, mom, dad, grandpa, uncle. There's checks and balances in family. And when you destroy the family, it's very difficult for a community to recover. Without masculine leadership, it's very difficult.
No, I totally agree. I agree with you 100%. And I think you've seen the gradual decline. I always call you and I the Ingram experience, and also G-Man. I consider Gen X what I call the Gen X Nexus. And it appears that Gen X was the cross or the bridge between traditionalism and this new neo-liberalism. You and I still had a semblance of what seeing a black principal was, a black teacher, black men and different auxiliaries. We were still used to seeing that, but it appears that many of our young men now have not seen those exemplars, and because they have not seen those exemplars, I think it makes it easy for them to defer power. Because with 7% of our kids being born in single-parent homes, our boys don't see strong masculinity. G-Man, I want you to more or less go back and circumnavigate around what the Ingram experience said.
Okay.
And I want you to break it down as well, brother.
Okay, well, Ingram experience, I'm telling you, you put me out there because it's hard to follow what you just stated because of the economics. So I will go off you and say that the young men, I've seen this, and I've said this on a few podcasts, that I've seen black doctors, I've seen people, brothers who own their own pharmacy back in the 60s. Before it was McDonald's establishment, there was a mom and pop burger joint. So I seen the money transfer. Mind you, this war basically is about to make sure that we don't have power. Now, I want you to take a look. I'm just going to show you something. If you see my avatar is a check and a frame. That check is from California Child Support for overpayment of child support for 1 penny.
Wow.
And then the envelope down there, it is postmarked. They paid airmail, so they sent me a penny check, and they spent $1.15 to mail me that check. And as my friends say, my 60-year-old friends and late 50s, they said they sent it to the wrong person. Because, see, I have a Shaka Zulu attitude. I know that they're my enemies. It's just that I had to get to the grips that this so-called black woman, they gave them a bag of goods that's not goods. They were after the future generations because, see, the future generations are rich. The future generations really don't need an education. They just need to be pointed in the right directions. When you have a 13-year-old young man that's somewhere in the States going to aerodynamic school, working on rockets, what does that tell you about this generation? Now, this dude is 13, in college already. They're not going to talk about the young men who have graduated from TCU. I think these young men not even 19 yet. No. See, there's something about us, and especially us men, I ain't even saying the women, is something about us that is so important that they can't stand. We can't do anything without power, but the power is ours. It's just there to grab. It's right within reach. It's in arm's length. If we get back this family structure, they should know about it. For an example, there's a group of people somewhere in Georgia that blurted out and told the world that they purchased over 100 acres. A friend of mine, Terry Lee from Georgia, me and him both agreed. It's nobody's business if you got 100 acres. Ghost protocol is the agenda. And then I talked to you two brothers, and then you two brothers talk to two brothers, and then talk to two families, and we unite. There is a white guy who said this 3-4 years ago, before all of this went down. He said, what this world needs to do is white people get out the way and let the black people heal the planet like it used to be. I can still repeat that. So economics is one thing. I do know this for a fact, is that we better be ready for what's going on, because you two brothers, along with me, have seen history. You've seen 9/11 from the attack on the freedom of even thought. Think what I'm saying. I'm not talking just on the attack of freedom to walk down the street. You can't even have a thought. And that's under attack. So masculinity, speaking out, thinking is all under attack. And remember, they already stole the economics, because the brother's right. The woman is the #1 consumer. I'm so old, I remember when malls didn't exist. That's old. When they built malls, they didn't build malls for men. They built malls for women, which was about money, debt, and credit. And remember, in school, and here's something that I can ask you, brothers. Did they teach you anything about finance in school, especially high school? Did they teach you about taxes? Did they teach you about stock? They taught me nothing. Not now. This world is so simple. It's right in your hand that you can learn anything you want. Even how to change, take out an engine, do this or do that. See, in my days, as I was a young child, these guys were going to school and they were picking up trades even in high school. When they came out of high school, these high school students started their own businesses, from cleaners to mechanics, back to the economics. Everything, money goes around. I mean, what is it? Money rules everything. Money does rule everything. But I think that we as an energy is the real currency.
Well, money is the answer to all things, but the love of it is the root of all evil. And I think now, G-Man, that the love of money has caused a chasm in our communities, and it's caused a lot of
chaos.
Chaos, yes, it's caused a lot of chaos, to the point now there's so much fragmentation and narcissism. I don't think it's going to ever get back in for a long time. Hold tight. Let me read this super chat, okay. G-Man. Shout out to MC Recovery Steps and Relapse Show. Come on, please. I think you're a guy. Come on, brother, if you can. I work for LA County Department of Mental Health and get pushback. So I wrote a proposal that would make it 66,000 black youth and men outcome. Come on to talk about that black male outcome, but also I want you to ask yourself the question, to the men that are listening, is there an attack on black male masculinity? And also, me, G-Man, and the Ingram experience, we're more or less looking at the three archetypes, Amos, Ice Cube, and also Dave Chappelle. I think you said something about it, G-Man. Did you have an issue with what Dave Chappelle said? Maybe you did. You already
no.
Did you have an issue with what Dave Chappelle said?
No, I didn't, because it's called freedom of speech. It's freedom of speech. I mean, he didn't say nothing disrespectful, but I think all he did was, you know how a horse has blinders on? He just took the blinders off, and once he said white supremacy, it was like, okay. And you got to understand, when you talk about white supremacy, you're not talking about all these white folks, because they're not smart. You're talking about the elites, the one who controls power, the ones who print the money. You look at those people, and once you begin to look at, let's say, like the Henry Kissingers, you begin to just look, and then let's go do some research on Henry Kissinger or Bill Gates and all of these people who are trying to control the world. See, they want to make sure you don't look at them. They want to make sure you keep your eye on Ella, or like my man Ingram said, Hollyweird. That's what they want you to look at. They want to keep you dumb and stupid. They do not want you looking across the fence and looking in their boardroom and looking at what they're saying. Mm-hmm. See, so that's why they really mad. They're not mad about the transgender. They mad because he said something else. Mm-hmm. That's my word.
G-Man, I want you to talk about a time as a man where you felt like, because you sound like you're a strong black man like myself in the Ingram experience, but I want you to talk about a time where you exuded power as a black man, but you came under great heat because you stood up based on your convictions as a man.
Oh,
and,
yes.
And let me finish. And how does it impact your mental health as a man, G-Man? Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Okay. No. Thanks for getting it out. So this is when I remember. I remember this on my second born, which is why that check is there. And I was living in Houston, Texas. Now, Houston was a beautiful place. I just didn't know how maybe the word is corrupt and dirty that it really was. So that's when I realized my power was under attack, because everywhere I went to talk about this situation between child support and dealing with lawyers, I always ran into females. And it's like, I never understood it. And I had a problem with it. Then I got in a little trouble and I was on probation. And this one I knew that I was on the right track. And this was because of what a judge said to me. A judge told me that, Mr. Jelks, you don't belong in my courtroom. You're a different type of person, strong. And not to mention, I was reading the autobiography of Shaka Zulu every time I went to court, because I had a lawyer. And she was a female lawyer and she got it out. But he did explain to me, you don't belong here. So I knew I wasn't that low vibration person that he was looking for. Now, while in Texas, I was trying to explain things to brothers, but that's when I realized the change of things. It's like brothers did not think with strength. They complained, they whined, they just sat there. And I'm like, listen, if you take a dump, you're the one who has the strength to wipe your behind, and you're the one that have to go get the toilet paper. You can't expect nobody to bring you toilet paper and then wipe your behind. You got to be kidding me. So I would say in the late 90s, is when I the early 90s is when I seen, let me apologize. In the 80s, 85 is when I seen that I was under attack. Now, as far as the mental part, I'm just getting over the anger. I'm just really getting over the anger, and I'm still angry, but I just joined the Richard Pryor Club. F it. Because one day I know that I'm going to expire from this perimeter, and I literally don't want to take this hate with me when I go, because I do not. Now, listen to me, two brothers. I don't want to come. The biggest nightmare is I got to come back here again. That is the nightmare. I was lucky enough to have a grandmother who cared enough. Listen to what I'm saying, y'all. I was lucky to have a grandmother. And I didn't have a mother. And my father, to me, he was spineless because he was supposed to speak up. And he didn't. But I did find something out, that we're actually natives of America. We're not from Africa. That's another story for another show. But I had to learn the game of chess and apply it to life. And this is why I was able to defeat my mental health, honestly, because if you're a man and you stand strong, you're going to be attacked. And it's not going to come in front of you. It's always going to come from the side. And it's from somebody you least expect it from. And it will be your own. That's just the way it is. So I can say I defeated it. I did. I really did. And I hope I answered your question. I hope I did.
Yeah, more or less you did. Mr. Ingram, from the Ingram experience, and anyone else that would like to join this conversation as we explore the three archetypes, John Amos of Good Times, Ice Cube, and Dave Chappelle. And the question remains, is there an attack on black male masculinity? Mr. Ingram, from the Ingram experience, I want you to talk about your time, and maybe you have. I got like several things going on at one time, but talk about a time when you felt like your masculinity was attacked, not only in the home, but also in the community as it relates to being a professional black man.
Well, the number one thing I would say is my resistance to mass incarceration. Obviously, I've worked in law enforcement, and one of the biggest things that I reject is this idea of locking people up for these minor offenses like possession of a joint or little, the minimus offenses that they try to. Because here's the thing with it: if you're vocal as a black man and you don't play along with their game, this mass incarceration game of systematically oppressing people and for stats, and obviously stats go into how you hire people. And I always say there's crime and then there's manufactured crime. But that's a whole different topic for me to get on. But the other thing that I reject is how popular culture, Hollywood, and these crazy movements that our young people follow, our women follow, that goes against the family, and especially in terms of not understanding that a lot of the things are even unnecessary to maintain relationships. Like we see a lot of people in popular culture. I mean, we see who our kids follow, the famous rappers, are women that follow people like Cardi B and you know, I blowback. You're going to be called all kinds of names. You know, you're going to be called the first name you're going to be called is a misogynist, which to me, I translated that into a truth teller. Misogynist to me nowadays means truth teller. You're going to get a lot of blowback if you resist anything that's part of the social program. You brothers are still there?
Yeah, still here.
Yes, we're still here.
Yeah, it's a lot of lagging, but still here. Go ahead. There's a lot of lagging.
Okay, great. You guys can still hear me? Sorry, but I just much. Yeah. If you don't stay on code and you speak the truth, you're going to get help, to be honest with you. Because, like I said, we're so deep into this the social programming right now. There needs to be more of a refreshing voice out here. And I think the internet, YouTube, you guys being so vocal, black men coming out and speaking is a great start.
As I've said in the past, you know, it appears that the power in black families and homes, you know, James Evans was an archetype of a masculine black man. What do you guys feel like happened to the masculine male archetype? And guys, please be sensitive. YouTube is very funny, and so listen, I'm passionate like you guys.
I know.
But we got to be very careful with certain words or whatnot. I believe in free speech too, but unfortunately, the algorithm doesn't believe in it. So be very careful in what you say and how you say it. And it's unfortunate, but
it's true. It's true.
You got to use acronyms or whatever because it is what it is. We got to adapt. We don't have to agree with it, but we got to adapt to survive. And then there are times if you have to die, you might have to die. But I have the discussion, guys, because male mental health is important. And I went to matriculated at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hills, and I love my school, but a lot of PWIs don't necessarily embrace black male masculinity or white male masculinity, in my opinion. But what do you guys feel like has been the dissolvement of black male masculinity? Was there a certain time, and I think you guys talked about, but was there a certain time in history where you saw the dissolvement of black male masculinity? Go ahead, G-Man, and then I'm going to allow someone else to pop in and add to the discussion. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, now I was going to say two shows. I think Steve Harvey was on one show. Steve Harvey was on one show where he was a father, maybe 3 boys, and they took that off air because it represented strength. Now, John Amos was the bomb. But think about what I'm saying. Before John Amos, the only person we saw on television was actually Bill Cosby. And Bill Cosby, I think he was on the show, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. or I Spy. So we enjoyed that. But when you look at John Amos represents strength and struggle. And it's sad because this is the reason why he was kicked off that show. Because of that. And it's funny how we recognize that. We recognize it. And it actually was, I think what's her name? Esther Roll. She was the one that was speaking up for that. Also, she was the one speaking up for that. I think that Red Fox was another one who was always fighting like, we need to do something different. They had writers, but they didn't like this black, strong energy. And see, that's a cool thing, man. That's a cool thing. So once they took those guys off, then things went blank, and then you come with different worlds, how they programmed us to go to college. That was a good thing. But I also look at it now, they programmed us. When actually all it did was make the bankers rich, because the bankers control the loan companies. So now that I look back on it, I just realized they played us. And you got to be honest. They did play us. And when you can be honest with yourself, that now becomes a problem, because you end up going back to basics, just like the lady said. Once you go back to basics, you begin to build, you can begin to start over. And this is a problem, because see, we're still on the planet. They want us gone. They want us playing roles in like the Cinderella movie. Like, seriously, this is what we're doing in the 21st century, putting a man in a dress and playing these movies. So I can recognize the attack, and that's all I can say. And I say thank you for bringing this up, because nobody else is really talking about it. So Ingram, it's on you.
It's unfortunate, because when black men speak about black male issues, there's often consternation. Many don't listen to hear. They listen from a perspective where they're dealing with their feelings. And it's unfortunate, but these conversations are important, because we need to defend and more or less empower men to stand up and be strong, so that they can protect their women, but also so they can protect their communities. MC Recovery, thank you, brother, for the generous super chat. But I want you to more or less expound on this topic, brother. What are you getting out of this discussion about John Amos, Dave Chappelle, but also, I can't think of his name, Ice Cube? What's your take on this conversation, brother?
Mine is like it's right up the alley of some of the things that we're facing right out here in LA County, which is Los Angeles County. So right in March, like I put in that thumbnail, due to being in the manosphere and listening to Kevin Samuels and a lot of those shows, this is a proposal, because when you work deep in the LA County system, I am allowed to be at those board meetings and mental health meetings and homeless meetings, and our department have a underrepresented committee meeting for Latinos, Asian, Blacks, and African Americans, and they blend us in. So I'm like the renegade employee, because I came in as a peer, and my 14 years of being here, it's like I can tell the facts about the community. So this is the proposal. We have a proposal for capacity building projects. So what I basically did is I went straight to the community, invited people like you, the kosher clinician, and different folks that have programs that help out the community, to come into some of these various meetings, like the Board of Supervisors, Mental Health Commission meeting. And what was created by inviting a lot of people is that we created a task force last July where we can oversee ourselves. And in our LA County meeting, my proposal got picked out of 4 proposals, and it should have been $100,000, but one of the proposals, people dropped out, so they picked all 3 of them. So, like you said to your question about David Chappelle and James Amos, when I put the pushback, if I can tell you how many service area meetings I've been in where, you know, they would take something that I would bring from the community and reword it, I will have to jump in, slice and dice and said I did not say it like that. Like for example, like, you know, when it's a crisis right in the community, a lot of low-income communities, especially Black and Latino communities, they don't know it's a protocol that if like an individual have a drive-by or stuff like that, or get hit by a car, or you know, like if it's a 5150, the person being naked or having mental health issues, the protocol is supposed to go to the captain of the police station to get in contact with our department, our emergency outreach bureau, and protocols don't be met. So my job is to get this kind of education out there to the community, whether it's resources. So I wrote this, and this is basically called, due to listening to a lot of y'all shows, and I took it to the NAACP chapter I'm a part of, the Hollywood and Beverly Hills branches, because I'm a photographer. So I wrote something, and I titled it Black Male Outcomes. And it's for strengthening the community. And I'm willing to even share it because they asked 5 questions. And ain't that I wrote it. I went to individuals that work for the Department of Children and Family that's in the same position as me to give me some meat to put on the bone. I went to the 100 Black Man of Long Beach to give me some more meat to put on the bone, and some other individuals. And then the Black Task Force straightened it up, and it went through. So that's basically what it says.
Right. Have you got a lot of negative pushback, brother, for your desire to push this agenda? And what's been the negative pushback in your experience?
Oh, the negative pushback is that even though I'm a peer, when I speak up in a meeting, I notice, hey, I be cracking up off of these shows. My building, I'm at headquarters where it's about 1,200 of us, and I see a lot of ladies, a lot of pushback when it comes to relationships, and we get a lot of competition from within the rooms of these meetings. So when I stood up from this, I got support from our Black women that say that this is needed, because I said every year, y'all speaking about the women's conference and this, we need to start doing stuff for Black men to have better outcome. And this is the first time I did not get pushback. The only thing about this is that I can't implement it because I'm a county employee. Right. So they gotta send out a service agreement for a program. So I'm hoping that Manifestation, you can Google them, will get the bid to implement this for better outcomes when it comes to, like, you know, child support, mediation. All of this is in here. Better outcomes for our voice to be truly, authentically heard when we're in meetings, when we're in trial. Do you know, we always we get heard in a way. Even with my son just turned 14. When they give me a response, the response is more like an attack, as if he knows better of what he's doing in school. And they get shocked when they find out I work for the Department of Mental Health, and I tell them that the regional centers say he's acting according to his age. He's not acting. So that goes to say with that school prison pipeline thing too. So they know I know of that, but this time I didn't bring it up. But the pushback as Black men in LA County, we get pushed back in a way where we got so much Black Lives Matters, LGBT community. I'll be looking at how the funding be spent. We getting pushed back on the news last night. Y'all noticed that a friend of mine, Mark Ridley Thomas, they did an indictment, right? Mm-hmm. But they did it after the fact of him no longer being our board of supervisors. They did it, to me, it looked like they fabricating it because his son was into the political realm, and they want to make it look like it's some bribes being done, but it's really politics.
Right.
So it's really politics. They see how much he really care about this homeless issue. He said it like 4 years ago. This is nothing to brag about. LA County is got the biggest jail mental health system. So that's nothing to brag about. That's a serious issue. So that's what put it on my heart, and I love the fact that I invited enough people to these meetings where the county, some of the other community groups within that meeting was worrying about the Black Task Force, mental health task force, and they found out that don't have nothing to do with the county, right? Because Kaiser help us out with funding. So the Black Task Force is coming up on its. We're going to have a conference in January, and what I love about the task force is that they helped me do this grant. I'm not a grant writer, but the pushback is real serious out here. No matter what we say and what meeting anywhere, we have to support each other in these board meetings to the fullest. To that we know that it's a serious problem right in our communities out here in Compton, South Central, Inglewood, and it's funding all across the board from here to New York, and every state and county program is always funding in there. And it's funding for the low population community, period.
Right. Well, I think what you're doing is noble. And, I bring these shows to the forefront, because you're correct. I don't think our men can be at their best until they feel empowered. And G-Man talked about it, and I'm sure Mr. Ingram is listening. Teddy Pendergrass said, it's good to love somebody and someone to love you back. And I started these shows because I felt like a lot of men were suffering in silence, and we didn't more or less address the pathologies or the issues of Black men. I think men are at their best when they feel loved and supported. But I feel like many men in America are seen as subjugates or commodities instead of seen as men. Guys, I need your help. If you guys have not shared the show, please share the show right now. Share the show with at least 5 people. Go support the Ingram Report, the Ingram Experience. I keep saying the Ingram Report. Go support the Ingram Experience.
Ingram is great.
MC Recovery, if you got a channel, go support that brother, and G-Man as well, if those brothers got a channel. And listen, these shows are important because Gen X men, we saw the benefits of family. We saw the Dr. Kings of the world. We saw the Malcolm X's. We saw a time when free speech was not under attack. But it appears that free speech is under attack anytime Black men speak their piece. G-Man, do you feel like Black men or the Black community or our Black women and Black men often are the convenient come up, and other liberal groups use Black men and Black women as a mechanism to push their own agenda? Briefly.
Heck yeah. Let's go with cultures. Remember what I told you, what I saw. It was the dollar spread it between me, you, and the other brother.
Right.
And as it happened, then the so-called Jews came in. Then as I got older, the Asian came in. And I want you to understand chess. Who do the United States now have in a 5-star hotel, giving them money and everything? It's the Afghans. So guess who's going to be in your local Black neighborhood with a convenience store? See, it's the same formula, except we don't catch it. All they give us is Jesus and churches. And remember, Margaret Sanger said, we must get the preacher on our side or we can't continue to do our plan, which goes back to what Mr. Ingram said, economics and finances. We are like Elsie the cow. They just keep milking us and milking us and milking us, and we just don't catch it. And then when a brother like me that used to say it, which I'm tired, because I got gray hair now, is that I used to get dogged out and talked about. I literally got tired of that. And, you know, again, that's why I came up, because I heard Ingram say something. It's, again, we are that powerful that we can turn this around in 24 hours.
I love it.
In 24 hours, because everybody got $1 and everybody got a friend and everybody got another friend. $1 with over 100,000 people, we up. I mean, up, and it is scary, because I've heard what some of them have said about us. We fear y'all because we fear the fact what we did to your people, you all are going to do that to the world. That's what somebody told me. So,
that's interesting, but there are too many factions in the black community right now that's going to cause that to happen. I believe in this lifetime, unfortunately. If there anyone else that want to add to the show, I would love for one of the ladies to pop in. But while we're waiting on the ladies, Mr. Ingram, what else did you want to share to this conversation about Ice Cube, John Amos, and also Dave Chappelle? What else did you want to add to the conversation about the dissolvement of black masculinity and what appears to be an attack on the black community by liberal groups that actually benefit from our struggle and benefit from our past as it relates to slavery and the civil rights movement?
Well, obviously, the liberal agenda is one of the most destructive things for our community, because what it does fundamentally is it takes away standards. And we talk about moral standards. And like I always say, a lot of the problems that happen in our community is that we're dealing with the symptoms as opposed to the virus itself. Like crime is a symptom. All these different things are symptoms of the problem. And if you start from a foundation where the family it has crumbled, then the question is you remove accountability. And I think what happens is when people are not together and so many of the symptoms, like for instance, and let me give an example of Ice Cube. When Ice Cube tried to organize and galvanize our people, the women came at Ice Cube. And one of the things they came about him about was about whether or not he was pushing the agenda for black women. And it's like they were a whole group by themselves, a separate entity, and we weren't a part of it. It's not like black men and women. It's like they were a whole different subset of the black culture in America. And I found that to be totally disturbing, because one of the ways in which they exploit us is by dividing us on issues and separating us from its core. And we go back to, again, what is the virus that affects us all? And the virus that affects us all is poor morality and the destruction of the nuclear family and the removal of the patriarchy and masculine leadership that facilitates accountability. Because when you have a culture where there's no checks and balances in terms of when you're raising kids, or when you're, like, for instance, I have my boys, they're all adults right now, but everything flows through me, period. I am the hammer. I'm the masculine leadership. I'm the patriarch of my family. There's no immorality without accountability with me. If I see them screwing up, I address them and I hold them accountable for it. But what we see now in our culture is that there's no accountability for any type of immoral behavior. And what happens is we deal so much with symptom-related problems that we never really deal with the core of the virus. And I say you treat the virus and you get rid of the symptoms. It's really that simple.
I totally agree with that. Ms. Parker from Back to Basics always talks about it. She's correct. When we get back to the basics, we're going to see a slow evolution, but you know, that's going to take some years. And I don't think we're going to see it in our lifetime, Mr. Ingram. I think you and I were fortunate, G-Man and my other brother, I think we were fortunate to see what traditional masculinity looks like, but it appears to be ruling more so now than ever. Guys, if you like the show, please donate to the show. Please donate to $7 Smalls. Please donate to Cash App $7 Smalls. And if you have not donated, please share the content. Share the content with as many people as possible. Also, hit the like button. Hit the bell for all notifications. So when these shows start, you will be able to see the channel. There have been some people that said they know that the shows were actually starting. You have to hit the all notification button, and let's continue to have a conversation. Now, G-Man and Mr. Ingram and my brother to the bottom, I forgot his name, but
MC.
MC, I want to ask you a question, man. I don't know if you're married, but do you feel like, can you tell the audience a time when you felt like your masculinity was under attack? And what did it do to your mental health as a man?
Well, it's like practically everything that you mentioned. You know, my son's mother, she done moved out in December because I wasn't getting that sort of respect I needed to get to you know, we wasn't raising our son the way we should normally raise them. I was always getting pushback. You know, the coochie game was being played, so you know I wasn't getting that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
See, I'm one of those employees for the county. When I share facts with them, sure, I just have to keep it real. And what I like about your show, and it's on another question that you said to the Ingram experience. What David Chappelle did, that opened up more room for me to navigate in the meeting to speak up. And I'm gonna take one of your quotes, Kosher, is that I'm gonna say that when the LGBT is in these meetings, that we could coexist, because like my channel is, it is sure, I have 22 years of recovery, and I saw actual gays and lesbians recover. You know, they're no longer gay. Some of them is married. It's like what he said, because they saw that these was the symptoms of being on drugs and alcohol, and the symptoms of trauma, early childhood trauma. So when they went into the 12 steps, they recovered. So my masculinity be attacked right at work, because you know we have guidelines that don't make sense. Like, you know, like if you compliment a female the wrong way.
That's a crime now. That's a crime. Yeah. You can't do that now. That's a crime.
Yeah. So it's like, come on now. And then once, or if I hug somebody, because in Alcoholics Anonymous we do a whole lot of hugs, is because we just came from the pits of hell of, you know, panhandling, pushing bastards, or whatever. So, you know, that's a fellowship thing. And then what I like what G-Man mentioned, I even tried to do what the 12 steps say, like go back to church to look at where the pastor in them is right? That's what the Alcoholics Anonymous textbook said. So when I went back there, I see so many cooking and giving out the free food, and then I went to the pastor, and he sent me to one of the sisters, and it's like it didn't get a lot of good interest. Like I said, I can fill this parking lot up. with the work source center and stuff like this. So these are kind of, so what it does to an individual is that it burns you out. That is like you sit back and then, you know, get into another strategy. So masculinity gets attacked in even in groups in the county system. As soon as we get things off the table, a month later come back to the same meeting, they don't want to implement it. Where we say, let's take yoga into the different clinics in our community. Then it gets pushed back. Then we gotta bring the minutes back up to point. So hopefully if y'all whoever's listening, if you're going to meetings, keep it on point and from the last meeting, because it's deliberately being done to have communities go forward. And then it hurt my heart when that happened at the church I grew up in. See, that you know, you want to bring stuff there to bring men back into the church. It just hurt my heart. And then our pastor is around the same age as me. See, I'm 57. And when he say things the wrong way, some of the church members stop coming. Ain't that something?
Nope.
It's like audacity. It is. So I figured the best thing to do is to open up that parking lot. Maybe I might try it one more time, but if it's not heard, maybe I can get one of these committees to come there and like, man, let's help build the community back up. Dude. So hopefully give back to the community. So that's
let me jump in. I want to say something because you just woke me up on something. Do you know that the United States and Canada are the only two places that are having this type of problem, the attack on masculinity? Russia ain't having it. These other countries, they are not having this problem because they know how Rome was destroyed.
Right, very true.
And you got these elitist people who have given them power. Now, you out in California, MC, I still remember this, and I'm going to put it out there. For some strange reason, I have never liked Maxine Waters nor Jesse Jackson. And Maxine Waters, I still remember living in Texas. She said something when that Contra and all of that was going down, and I saw straight through her. So again, once this masculinity power, once they can get that out the way, maybe they can control the feminine power. Because how do you trap a monkey? You give them something that shines. And millions of dollars, or make these women go crazy and forget about the structure of family. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
That's it. Because look, I've been telling the female friends that now our board of supervisors is all women. And now Karen Bass wants to run for mayor. She's looking good on the polls. And I told one of the people from one of the programs that I do pictures on the side for, that she wants to know my take on Karen Bass. And I say, you really got to look at your take on Karen Bass. If she be the mayor, because I grew up with Jackie Lacey's daughter. And my father know Jackie Lacey's mother. And I said, you saw what they did to Jackie Lacey. So if Karen Bass get in there, that's like replicating the same scheme. Like with the cultural collision. Scheme of affliction is going to be up on us in a way we've never seen it.
This is not good. This is not good for our culture because Rome did fall, and it's mighty funny they don't teach us that history why Rome would really fail. And here in Canada, that's all you seeing for the elections. It's nothing but females. It's that feminine energy. Now I'm cool with it, but you gotta have balance. You just can't continue to have feminine energy and not have balance and have some masculine energy. because that means if this happens, this ship is going down and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop.
And then it's like, well, the mayor, yeah, she's a good politician. She did get a lot of things off the ground, but they need somebody in there for the running because it's like what Kevin Samuel said. You see, when it came to Trump getting in office, those women when it made sure he got in there. True.
But that's another agenda for another show, because there's only two shows that really are speaking on the source of why a lot of this confusion is happening. And Ingram, I think you might can respond on this, because both you guys were cops, and now I'm just talking about another subject of children missing. Notice that we're talking about everything. Everything is under attack, but the one thing they're pushing under the table, they don't want us to pay attention to. They're attacking these little children. Just like they got a lot of brothers in jail all around the United States. Here in Canada, it's the natives, even though they're not natives, but that's what they call them. It seems like people that have this melanin are under attack everywhere. What the hell?
Guess what? This week, my son had to do it for a homeroom. Right on LGBTQ. They snuck it in the homeroom for ninth graders to write about LGBT History Month, and then that's why I love what the coexisting is going to happen when I'm in the meeting.
Well, listen, guys. I think someone was talking about you're right, G-Man. Actually, in China, they're actually against liberal ideas as it relates to, how can I say it? Because you got to be real careful how you talk on YouTube. But as it relates to the effeminization of men, China has a policy now where they're actually, endorsing true patriarchy. And see, what people don't understand, there's going to become a time when we're going to need our men to be strong. I'm not against people of alternative lifestyles. That's what you want to do. That's your business. I'm not here to excoriate that. My only concern is when you try to push your agenda at the expense of black people that built this country, and when you try to compare your struggle to the struggle of black men and black women. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. Some of our dear sisters, I feel, were compromised. There are some sisters that want to do the right thing. They got good hearts. They want to build with their men. They want to work with their men. But those sisters actually get attacked by the more aggressive women. And because of that, China's army is getting stronger and stronger. The American army appears to get weaker and weaker. And it appears that because we continue to attack true heteronormative masculinity, it's going to come back to impact us with epic proportions. Mr. Ingram, real quick, brother, what do you see now in your district as it relates to masculinity and them doing everything in their power to silence men like yourself, G-Man and MC, that speak out against these nefarious agendas? What are you seeing, and how have you covered yourself being in a political sphere like law enforcement? Because I was in law enforcement too. I was a CO, and I worked in various compartments of law enforcement now. But tell me your opinion on that, brother.
Well, when you're in that type of profession, obviously having seniority helps, but you also learn how to play the game, and you play the game to the line. You know the limits of it. But going back to what the brothers were saying about Maxine Waters and other politicians like that, the biggest problem that I have with people like her is that they don't address the elephant in the room. And when these other groups try to hijack the Black agenda, obviously the LGBTQ communities and all these stuff, they are quickly aligned with those people, and they are not really pushing the agenda to repair which is the virus itself, which is you have all these households with no men, no masculine presence, no men educating boys, and even young ladies, educating young ladies about how to be a lady. Isn't this an example? Being the example for our women of the type of men they should select. Protecting them, guiding them. Because when you remove the ultimate protection from the home, from the community, us go to men, go to community. Any village. See, the problem with us is that I think what's his name said it one best, Kevin Sam. We have a lot of first world problems. We can afford to not have men in the house because we can call the police, down 911. And like I said, January 6th should have been an eye opener. COVID should have been an eye opener. And the fundamental thing is that all these things stem from the family. You can't accomplish anything. And I think politicians and liberal politicians, we don't have the luxury of aligning ourselves with that agenda. Because if you look at the statistics overall, we have what is in the mid to low 20s in terms of the marriage rate with Black women and Black men in the community. We have high crime rate. We have all these different other issues that we cannot afford to be worried about other agendas. And any Black man like me who speaks against these types of things are immediately going to be ostracized because they want to label you or call you this or call you that. But the reality is, we can't have, when you're doing, we're doing well in terms of financially, but most of our resources are spent in the consumer market. Our women spend a lot of money on things they don't even need. The fake nails, the fake eyelashes, but I don't want to get into all of that. Things that we find are absolutely useless to us. It doesn't change our attraction to them at all. They spend a lot of money, and there's a huge consumer market that Black people are a part of. We are very image conscious. We spend an incredible amount of money, and there's really no benefit to having strong Black men, nice, feminine Black woman in a household, man, woman, children, as it's supposed to be, because now you have basically a control system for spending, and nobody wants Black people to stop spending. No rich white person wants Black people to stop spending, and you cannot. And if men are not in that house, there's going to be a lot of spending.
Wow.
Facts. It's hard to follow that because you basically spoke what's going on now. That's like real time, what you basically just stated. Now, if you get them the solution, will these, and see, this is the thing that men say. A lot of men are saying, I'm not coming back to the negotiating table. It's no use of dealing with them. And somehow, if you read inside Willie Lynch, when they say, if they will turn on their own spirit to where we don't even have to worry about them. You see, the problem is men have separated. Men saying, I'm going to stay masculine and I'm going to look for another option. Now, let me just drop this on you about Canada, because that's where I escaped to. The feminist, very strong feminist country here. The men here are going through the same thing we're going through.
Wow.
But it's not on television. It's not on a lot of the reality shows. It doesn't catch on like Cardi B or Atlanta Housewives or Love and Hip Hop, none of that trash.
Right.
Listen, so go ahead.
Yeah, real quick, G-Man, I want to shout out Kelly real quick.
Okay.
She's correct. We can't be so quick to accept something perceived as generous and helpful. If we're handing anything from outside our community, we need to evaluate the hand before us and wisely look behind our backs.
She's
so
right.
She's correct.
Fire for your mind.
I agree with you 100%.
Kosher clinician.
Evaluate those things. I think we have been so conditioned to become subjects of people due to low self-esteem. We'll accept anything. Give me a minute, G-Man. I'm going to let you finish, brother.
Okay.
Snuggle said, I want you to remember Europeans have melanin, Asians have melanin, Indians have melanin, even animals have melanin. And Snuggles, we understand that, but what we're saying is that traditionally, when it comes down to Black people, especially those of darker hue, especially people from the African diaspora, they tend to get the worst end of the melanin experience. Hold tight. Let's see. And my friend, Miss Parker, back to the basics. She said women spending helps the economy grow faster, right? But does it pour anything back into our communities? I would say it doesn't. And so this is where these discussions are going at. We're living in the times where there's a chasm between black men and black women, and we're not working consistently together to get the outcomes that we want. Can you guys hear me good? I know Von Bryan said your sound is very low. I can hear others.
Oh, I can hear you. I can hear you just mellow. That's all. You're mellow.
Okay,
so.
okay, yeah. Maybe I mean, can you guys, you can hear me a lot better in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I'm talking, I'm far from the mic, so I got all this new equipment, but I'm trying to get used to it. But so you know, and Tim is correct. All Western countries have been feminized, and they've been feminized to the chagrin of many. As I said earlier, China is very determined to push a pro-masculine agenda, and I think it's going to come to the demise of the black community, but also the black family. So, G-Man, keep talking, brother. I apologize for cutting.
Okay, no, because what you were saying, it just ties into what Ms. Parker said about consuming. But Ms. Parker, you must understand this. Consumption is not power. You're giving the power away to somebody else. Exactly. So never see that. So, and let's take that to what I was going to say. Here in Canada, the Caucasian cats, which I really call them black, because if you look up the word black, one of the adjectives in black is pale. I'm brown like a brownie. So I look at it like that way. I look at it that way. But these men now are marrying women from the Philippine Islands. These women come over here. They don't have that consumption. But guess what they're drinking? They're drinking that poison. So these women will go to work and go buy a $4,000 purse at Hudson Bay, which ties you back into that trail of consuming masculinity, losing that, divorce, because when a man is strong in his house, his rules work. Babe, don't spend that money. You need to put that money here. She'll go right behind your back and spend that money because that's what the television program teaches her to do. These people in Russia, Russia, I hear what guys that live here in Canada talk about Russia. They don't play that over there. If the money's supposed to go here, I trust you to put that money there. Over here, it's like this is under attack because this is part of that chessboard. Forget what he says. You need to go to the mall and buy this nice necklace that's probably made in a factory of a child slave camp factory. See, a lot of people don't understand this order out of chaos that George Bush Sr. talked about so many years ago. Order out of chaos to us was going to the bank and controlling the bank for them. It is a process of the takers take from the stupid, and the stupid think they're so cool that they will jeopardize anything. Masculinity, their children, a stable kingdom, which basically is a stable household. You'll get it up for that shiny object. Back to what Mr. Ingram said. If you look at this chessboard, one of the main things is that doggone economics. This is why there's so many brothers on the street that are homeless. And when I say brothers, I just mean men, period. I see it all the time. Divorce will get you there. A Chinaman will get you there. Loving your wife, who you love that much, will get you there because she got that knife ready to cut you off just because she has this curse of consumption. And even that's in the Bible. My people will have the curse of consumption. And I'm not a Bible man.
Right. That's interesting. I think what Ms. Parker was saying is that even though she's actually agreeing with what we were saying, she's saying that they want you to spend so you can push the economy.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Ms. Parker. Sorry.
But in the process of spending to push the economy, it's at the detriment to the black community and the black family because we're giving outputs instead of getting inputs. Real quick,
Yeah.
Mr. Ingram and also Mr. Get your name, Mr.
MC like an MC Hammer.
I'm gonna call you MC Hammer, man, because you got that long name. But it appears, guys, that anytime we see the evolution of black families, not black families, but the evolution of black men in power, it appears that we always try to silence black men. I came back from Brazil back in March, I believe, March or May. I think it was in May. And black men are celebrated abroad in other countries. But it appears that anytime that black men exude power in America, it's seen as an attack. Starting with Mr. Ingram to MC Hammer to back to my man G-Man. Why do you think that black male power is often under attack when black men exude that power? Because you saw John Amos get attacked because he was seen as a strong, masculine man. You saw Ice Cube get attacked where he was basically trying to help black communities and the black family. And then you saw Dave Chappelle get attacked. Well, why do you think, and G-Man, you're correct. I read the book that you're talking about by A New World Order. I actually got that book, and I know exactly what you're talking about, so I'm ahead of the game. But starting with Mr. Ingram, why do you think this incessant attack on black male masculinity is proliferating at a time that we need black male masculinity?
Well, there's a couple of factors. First, there's the economic factor, which is for capitalism to work, in my opinion, you need somebody at the top, somebody at the middle, and somebody at the bottom. Okay? And we know that we're big in the consumer area, but what we're not big in is generational wealth. We see many times, even in our families, when people pass away, people are scrounging around looking for, GoFundMe accounts just to bury them or have a funeral. And we don't see a lot of generational wealth passed along. That's one factor. And for any community to become uplifted out of poverty or become an economic power and be at the table, you first have to have that structure that comes with family, that comes with generational wealth, that comes with stability. And I think it's all about destabilizing the black family. Because if you destabilize the family, you never can build strong communities. And if you can't build strong communities, you never control wealth. And what black people don't understand, it's not about buying stuff and looking good. It's about the power that comes from your ability to buy that stuff and to control your own destiny. The problem is there's so much. So when black men show any signs of leadership or say anything that's going to improve the standard and affect the ladder of capitalism and empower our community, I mean, they want that gone because they don't want that community built. Somebody has to be at the bottom. Somebody has to be the spenders and the worker bees. And unfortunately, this particular, we're crazy enough to allow them to brainwash us with their feminism, brainwash us with their nonsense with Hollywood and emasculating of men in popular culture, because they don't want strong woman, a man and a woman and a family and building wealth and people staying married for 30, 40 years. That's a scary thing, because now you have to compete. You have to compete with black people in terms of politically, economically, and then you have generational wealth that's being passed on. And people don't understand how critical generational wealth is. When you have men, women, and children, you're passing along assets to your kids. When kids get married, you're passing along assets. That's generational wealth. That's real power. And then politically, you have people that are coming out to vote. You have controls over spending. You have economic power. Those things all start out of the family. And why would they do anything that empowers black people? And that's why they attack us with the gay agenda and all that. They try and attach that to everything. It could be a civil rights situation where we're dealing with police brutality or discrimination. They're going to bring them in.
Right,
and
right.
They dilute the issue. When it's our issue, they make it a different type of issue and divert from the actual issue, like they did with Black Lives Matter.
Right.
They took that and it got hijacked by the gay agenda. And that's a whole long story. I don't want to get into that dialogue.
Right. No, I understand, man. Do you feel offended? Do you feel offended?
The idea, the true success of our culture comes by having that family intact. Without that family intact, everything else goes to hell. Because, again, we have first world problems. You don't want to live in an apocalyptic world. Like January 6th, I go back to that. This country is a revolution. And you will see the importance of having strong men around when everything goes south in capitalism. See, other cultures and other countries understand the importance of men, because a lot of them are unstable, have dealt with different political upheaval and a political arrest, and they understand what it is to have somebody knocking at the door. Your money can't save you, your career can't save you, your education can't save you. You better have a man. And you better have a bunch of men in that community that can protect you, protect the kids, and protect the interests of that community. And I think we got off track with that.
Right. I totally agree. I agree 100%. I want to thank my man Tim Howard for the $5 super chat. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for your donation. Thank you for your time. And also I want to thank my dear friend Gail Lockett. Gail always comes through, her and Tim. I love Gail and Tim. They're like Nehemiah. They're on the wall and they won't come down. And they always support me in my endeavors and many other content creators as we seek to push this message of healing and unity in the Black community and also in the Black families. And so I want to ask you guys the question, and starting with MC Hammer and also G-Man. We're gonna sign off in a few because I got to see clients. But are you guys offended when the alphabet community use your struggle as a means to push their own agenda, or more or less compare the struggle of being Black with the struggle of being, part of the alphabet community? So are you guys offended by that? Because, there's a saying that says that when white America gets a cold, Black America gets the flu.
Yes.
And we continue to be used as pawns. I mean, I saw this election when it came up, and unfortunately, some of our women did not push the Black man and the Black family. They pushed their own agenda. But real quick, and anybody else want to pop in real fast to add to this discussion about Ice Cube, John Amos, and also the Dave Chappelle fiasco. Do you guys feel offended as men when others use the Black experience to push their own agenda? Briefly.
It's like, it's like the alphabet community. Just recently, like last year, it seems that what someone said earlier is that when they pushed in the room and they're on the agenda for a meeting because they created an agency, all of a sudden now Leimert Park have a alphabet community agency right on Degnan Street, which is smack dab in the middle of Leimert. So, I feel bruised about it because when you look at our homeless crisis right out here, we have evidence, we have proof, we have a task force for Black homelessness with the proof and the percentage how many Blacks is on the street, and how intentionally is 66% of Black women on Skid Row. We only 4% of the population. So it's really a crisis at hand out here. And I'm starting to see more and more homeless women. So like what you mentioned, is it an attack on male masculinity? And we always see a dynamic, even in our county email, when the Asians was being attacked, we start getting emails, and the next thing you know,
they got their money.
Right. Some funding is coming down the pipe.
Right.
To help. So, And then, so right when we notice funding coming down the pipe, we need to do stuff like what Ice Cube did. Like I said, what Ice Cube and Kevin Samuels and a lot of y'all is doing, y'all giving individuals that be in these backdoor meetings breathing room. And then breathing room to, like, you know, it's like, I'm gonna use what the kosher said. We can coexist, but make sure that, you know, our schools. I even pushed my son to come to one of those assemblies, and he went to the microphone, and they put him in the LA County newsletter because his school his middle school he was going to at the time didn't have enough tutors. So
well, you know what, MC Hammer, I would say in theory we can coexist, but in actuality we can't, because there are two competing agendas, but also two competing factions. Jesus said you can't take new wine and put it into old wineskins. You can't do it. Right. And so in theory we can, but in actuality we can never coexist, because it's going to always be a hidden agenda to supplant what we're trying to do. Is not only as G-Man called, some believe that we're aboriginals, some believe we're from Africa, but I'm not here to debate that, but I know what he's talking about, because I got family members that endorse that, but I don't think we can ever coexist. You know, when I travel abroad, man, as I told you guys earlier, black men are actually revered. You know, when I look at the struggles of black men are very indomitable. The things we've had to go through, the struggles that we've been through. We were the face purveyors of music. We were some of the first to get killed in the Revolutionary War. Black men are some powerful men. The first ones to come up with swag, the first one to push music, the best athletes. And I'm saying this because I don't have any consternation. I don't have any consternation to my white brothers or brothers from other ethnic groups. But then when you consider what black men in America have been through, and also our black women, but particularly black men, because we were here first, black men are special, man. And and you're right, G-Man. I think that true masculinity scares them. And I think if you take it from a spiritual level, some believe that black men were the original creation, and Jesus looked like the black man. And because of that, some believe that it's by design to destroy the black man, because the black man is the original image of God. Now, listen, I'm not here to push that, but that's what it could be that way, because I've thought about that, because I've never seen no ethnic group that get attacked and punished like the black man. You're not going to find a more dominant, a more masculine, someone that got the swag of a black man. And like I said, I love my white brothers. I'm not here to denigrate my white brothers because I love them. I'm here to support all men. But I think our issues are different than most men in America. Our struggles are different, and our historical context is different, because at one time we were seen as 3/5 human.
That's why I said, like, I need that little wiggle room, because even though you may be black and you may have an alternative lifestyle, I guarantee you that you're being treated different among your population and peers. So what I say in the meeting is that we need to keep our agendas exact, because in our community, we want to, I always put in a lot of people caption, is that even in my family, if this don't get fixed pretty sometime in the next decade or two,
oh man,
family reunions may not be happening no more. Because how could a lot of single dads and single baby mamas have family reunions to pass down the culture?
Coach, I want to take a crack at that answer. I want a quick answer for what you say about that agenda, if I may. My answer is, it's a problem. They are a problem. And here's the simple reason why. If you hadn't been to the lynching museums or read 100 years of lynching, then this is what you should see. And Coach, this is how I know you by Black Ram 313, when y'all was talking about going over to Brazil. So yeah, man, I have a problem with them capitalizing off of what my ancestors, who even gave me the right just to walk outside the door and not get harassed. Remember, Our people were strong. They were masculine thin. And what did they do in Tulsa, Oklahoma? Dropped a bomb on them and took it. Then you were lynching people simply because you wanted to transfer the power. Now, the alphabet community want to jump on board. You did not get lynched. You did not get bombed. You did not go through one thing that our ancestors went through. No, you don't deserve to crawl up on this bandwagon and ride with us. Sorry.
Right.
That's what I got to say.
No doubt. I respect that. Let me shout out Miss Parker once again. Miss Parker, what you said is powerful. She said, I just found a transgender person as a producer of a show that's supposed to present our struggles called Dear White People. You're you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up, Miss Parker.
And then they also know by removing the man and removing and breaking down the nucleus family, they know we will not consume up all the things they sell us. See, I learned. Right.
Our suggestion.
So listen, guys, this has been a great show. I'm about to sign off. I got to get to my office in a few minutes. The Ingram Experience, go check out him, his YouTube channel, G-Man, if he have one, and also MC Hammer. I forgot his name. But guys, before we end this show, is there anyone else that would love to come in and share their experience about black male masculinity being under attack? And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the Kosher Clinician. And listen, I give non-diagnostic clinical consultations. And if you have help, if you have issues with mental health issues, if you're struggling with schema afflictions, if you're struggling with cognitive distortions, if you're struggling with any abnormality that can impact you from being the best version of yourself, please email me at kosherclinician@gmail.com. That's kosherclinician@gmail.com. And I'm going to do everything in my power to help them that need help eradicate the issues that they're having mentally for a non-diagnostic clinical consultation. So real quick, starting with the Ingram Experience, and I'm about to sign off in a minute if no one else want to pop on. What did you get from this show, and how will you use this show as an experience to empower yourself moving forward, brother?
Well, one of the things I like about this show is you have black men talking to black men about issues that affect the black community and issues that can help us build and get stronger. And I think that's the dialogue that needs to be happening, because there's a lot of different platforms that operate based upon the woman's perspective, and we already have enough of that. What I'm more interested in is the perspective of men and boys. Men and boys is the unrepresented voice out here that needs to be addressed, because every community starts and builds from men. Men and boys are the foundation of the community. They're the protection. They're the structure. That's the foundation of the family. And my channel is about masculinity and returning that patriarchy back to the black community and being able to build that community. But I was going to say something about the hijacking of our agendas, but that's a whole different story. I'll leave that for now. I know you're about to wrap up.
No doubt. Real quick, MC Hammer, what did you get from the show in less than 3 minutes? I have to go. Well, what did you get from the show, and what will you take from this show to help you become a better version of yourself as it relates to male masculinity?
Well, it's like what I got from the show. I'm gonna make sure I pass it on to my powerful brothers and stuff. My friend that has a podcast, Black Solutions, and his is just radio, and I'm gonna pass it on to some other colleagues. But what I got from the show is I got some more strength. I feel energized, man, and MC Hammer is one of my nicknames because still into this day I hang out with my friends from Uncle Jam Army. So if you look deep inside my YouTube page, you're gonna see some Pop Lockin', Egyptian Lover, Ice-T, and all of that stuff. So we still hang out with each other. But that's what I got from the show is I'm a pass this show on to more than 5 people.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, help this channel grow, man. You know, you're not going to find too many therapists, black male therapists. I think what you guys is getting is a treat. A black male therapist with a background in law enforcement, a background in special education, but happens to be a clinical therapist that advocates for not only black men, but I advocate for all men. I don't think you're going to find that nowhere in this space. I think what you're getting is a treat, and I count it an honor and a pleasure to serve the brotherhood. And I do it with a spirit of genuineness. I don't do it with no malice or forethought. And I always tell people, while these shows are time-consuming, I do appreciate the brothers and the sisters that donate because it's you guys, sometimes I'm up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning working on shows. And so it's very time-consuming. It's very time-consuming. So I tell people, do I want to get compensated? Yes, I do want to get compensated. But I never would like to get compensated to the point that I'm exploiting my people. I don't believe in that. So I enjoy what I do. I love empowering black men and black women, to the sisters that are listening. And like I said, these shows are very much important. Let me shout out to my man Low End Theory. Low End Theory said that Francis Cress Welsing said it perfectly. White genetic annihilation. So white men in power create laws to disenfranchise black men. They work through our women. And I think, I'm not going to say all white men, but I think there's a small faction, like G-Man said, of liberal elites. I think it's more of an oligarchy than it is just the common day white man. I think the common day white man is no different than you and I, But I do think it's men in power that seek to supersede and seek to subvert us as people. But I don't think it's the common everyday white man. I think the common everyday white man is a decent person that just want to take care of his family and be at peace. That's my opinion. And so shout out to Ms. Parker for another great show. Peace and blessings to the panel in the chat. Thank you, Ms. Parker. I always love your insight. And also shout out to my dear friend Gail. She's always holding it down for a brother. I love Gail. All right, so real quick, G-Man, what would you like to add to the conversations? We're about to sign off.
Okay, so what I got was you 3 brothers. I keep it like that. 3 brothers who are not blind. Even Ray Charles can see this. And I have to give some credit to really seriously, and I have to give a credit to Black Ram 313 and the Crypto Game for having you on the show, which led me to you, which got me to the Ingram experience, which I'm going to go check him out. And hopefully one day I'll talk to MC Hammer on this platform again. Hey, man, thanks for talking about it. And thanks, Mr. Ingram, for just saying something to say, okay, grab your balls and get up on there and speak your spiel. So I like to thank you for just giving me that space to even speak, man. Thank you.
Well, listen, man, I'm honored, man. I love Black Ram. I've been following Black Ram for years. And, at one point I was like, man, I don't have time to do this content creation stuff. But I realized it was something that was needed. And I'm glad that I did do it. I'm glad that I decided to take on this endeavor because I think what I bring to this space is unique because therapy is needed in the black community. And until we understand what power we have, we will continue to be subjects of our own ignorance. And I want to reduce that. And so shout out to you, G-Man. And we got some more powerful shows coming up soon. Okay. We're going to be talking about resilience. So be on the lookout for shows talking about resilience and the black man, because resilience is important as it relates to the black man and the efficacy of the black man. So be on the lookout for shows that are going to be talking about resilience. Charleston White was on my show last week. If you know anything about Charleston White,
yes,
he's controversial. He's an enigma, but at the same time, he said very. But at the same time, Charleston speaks with great power and great conviction. And so, you don't have to agree with all the people on my show. As I said, that, we as men, we're not going to agree on all things, but we come together as allies of a common cause only to go away when the crisis is over. And because there is a crisis in heteronormative masculinity, it's important that we have these discussions. And it's important that we work together as men, even though our backgrounds are different, even though sometimes our worldviews are different, to put those things aside for the sake of bringing forth solvency in this critical nexus called America. And so real quick, G-Man, what did you say you got on the show real quick, brother? I think you already spoke.
I did. I spoke. I got you 3 brothers. So
my mind,
I know you got to get to work.
Yeah, my mind all over the place, man. But listen, guys, this has been a powerful show. Once again, Thank you, G-Man. Feel free to come on the platform at any time.
Okay,
Thank you, MC Hammer, for donate to this the super chat.
You was one of the people that inspired me to start a YouTube channel too.
Oh, no doubt.
yeah, because I got 22 years of recovery and mental health.
Right.
And I work for mental health.
Right.
And I have co-workers that whisper in my ears and tell me that they got a kid or a loved one, and then I said I'm not going to talk to them like I'm a mental health advocate. I'm talking to them like, hey.
Yeah.
You're gonna keep it real. You're gonna keep it kosher. Shout out to my man Low End Theory for the $10 super chat. Thank you, brother. And we're gonna have some more powerful shows coming up soon. Thank you to all the sisters that have donated to the channel. Thank you to the sisters that are listening. These shows are very important. Some of the topics we talk about as men might not always sound good to your feelings, but it's good for your soul. And if you are willing to have an open mind, if you're willing to listen, I promise you, you're going to get the outcomes that you want, because as Kevin Samuel said, winter is coming. Now listen, guys, we're about to sign off, but based on what I've said, Frederick Douglass once said that power never conceded without a struggle. It never have, and it never will. There are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male. And understanding female psychology and also understanding the importance of male mental health and male physical health is paramount to the functioning of a man. This has been another great episode of the Manhood Chronicles and the Kosher Clinician. I look forward to serving you guys. And I want you to remember this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. We're signing off. Be well.
keep God first. I see evil when I converse.
Now today say,
this how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns. Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off. You living boring, I'm gonna set it off. Shooting, I'm scoring, I'm gonna set it off. Like soldiers torn, I'm gonna set it off. Son of God, no, I am not son of man. Blessings keep falling, the fingers keep coming in. I got you, but just know I'm texting like Uncle Sam. Left to the bank, you know that I'm coming in. We don't do it for the bands though, we don't do it for the clout. Legacy on the line, so I'm moving in and out. Seen good ones turn top dog, greedy ones get knocked off. I keep looking at the bench like I could never not ball. Coach keep me in the game, Curry deadly with the range. I keep looking in the mirror like, who is he? I'm insane. Who am I? He insane. Guess I am the one to blame. What's done is done, won't change. Time to live up to my name. Real will be real, fake gon' fall. Took time with this here, I'm made for a while. No sleep in the while, I won't fall. No sleep in the while, I want it all. I keep God first. I see evil, when I converse.
Now today say,
this how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns. Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off. You living boring, I'm gonna set it off. Shooting, I'm scoring, I'm gonna set it off. Like soldiers torn, I'm gonna set it off. Told my baby, meet me at the bank. Told my mama, I'ma break the trend. Locked in, I'ma change the weight. Working for my baby's kids. Hard times couldn't make the rent. Working hard couldn't save a cent. Lonely nights, just me and God. Swear to him, always made the ends. Grab a paper, see the news. Hate coming by the tools. Walk a mile in my shoes. Something you could never do. Got my back against the wall. Bet I always pull through. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Sending shots, I block 'em. Superman with the moves. Rock 'em, sock 'em, drop, bop 'em. Play to win, never lose. Run it up, I top 'em. Play full belly too. I hip hop or pop 'em. Anything I could do. The real won't be real, fake gon' fall. Took time with this here, I made for a while. No sleep in the while, I won't fall. No sleep in the while, I want it all. I keep God first. I see evil, when I converse.
now today say,
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns. Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off. You living boring, I'm gonna set it off. Shooting, I'm scoring, I'm gonna set it off. Like soldiers torn, I'm gonna set it off.
telling me she want to be my lover, yeah. I love you when she want to be my lover, yeah. My little baby girl rise on me. My little baby girl ride on me. Maria, Maria, Maria. Every time you're looking out for me. Every time you're looking out for me. Love you, yeah, love.
Everything go from Maria, yeah, yeah. Sensibility, yeah, yeah. Pretty girl like a Maria, Maria, yeah, yeah. Every time we meet some, every time be like, oh, Maria, Maria.
Every time you look up for me, come on, look up for me. Every time you look up for me, come on, look up for me. Every time you look up for me, come on, look up for me. Every time you look up for me.
She no island girl, she from Kilimanjaro, Kiliman, oh. Nah, she no island girl, she from Kilimanjaro, Kilimanjaro.
My little baby girl rise on me, my little baby girl ride on me. Maria, Maria, Maria. Every time you're looking out for me, every time you're looking out for me. Love you, yeah,
Everything go from Maria, sensibility, yeah. Pretty girl like a Maria, Maria, yeah. Every time we meet some, every time be like, oh, Maria, Maria. Now you want to spend more time with me, do you want to be my wife, baby? I just want you in my life.